What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to unbox our $1,000 Fanatic wheel setup. I'm super excited about this. I've been stoked to get this since I ordered it. Finally came in today. I'm so hyped. What spurred this on was on that bad boy right there. I have the Logitech G29. It's a solid wheel for the price, not bad. However, I've had issues with it, and the same issue for the 4 years that I've had the same wheel. Um, and they replaced it once, but then now I'm having the same exact issue. So I figure, you know what, I'm gonna go all in. I've been looking at Fanatic wheels for a long time. If you're not familiar with them, they're all about designing and building this high quality sim racing setup for those who are pretty serious about it. And overall they're all designed pretty differently. What's nice is that you don't necessarily have to spend $1,000 to get a better setup. Their cheapest setup is about 600, I believe, and even that's still a pretty solid setup. It's not bad. They use that in the F1 Esports League. Um, so I mean, they have some good stuff for not as expensive of a price, and even what I got isn't that much better than what the bottom tier is. Um, it's just a little bit better. But and then they have even more expensive stuff that get close to about double what we spent. Um, but I figured, you know what? If I'm gonna do it, I'm just gonna do it right. Um, and man, I'm so stoked. If you want to look up some of their products and see what they have available, simply go to fanatec.com. That's FANATEC.com. But hey, let's get started. All right, so I figured the first thing we start with is the wheel base. All right, so what I mean by that is that every Fanatic setup that's available has a base that your wheel actually pops into, almost like a real life car. Um, I will say this stuff's packaged very, very well. Like, I was actually quite surprised. I've bought some really expensive stuff and had it be packaged very poorly. Um, So this is actually all packaged very well, which makes me feel better. It makes me feel more confident in terms of wanting to buy stuff from them again. And what's always nice is that you could always, because everything's split up into mini components, unlike some of your other brands like Logitech or Thrustmaster, you could always interchange some of that stuff out. So if you want to get a better, wheel base, you can do that. If you want to get a better wheel, you can do that. If you want to have, let's say, an F1 wheel for when you're playing F1 games, but then you want to have like a NASCAR style wheel when you're playing NASCAR games, you could absolutely do that as well. All right. So there she is. There she is. As you can see right there, this is where your wheel will pop on, which we'll show you a little bit later on as well. Um, I found funny thing. Once I bought this, I keep getting ads on like Facebook, because Facebook. I keep getting ads for like stickers to go on this stuff, and like some of them look really really nice. I'm actually debating on doing it. What's nice about this wheel in comparison to, let's say, the Logitech G29 like I have, um, or even some of your a little bit cheaper wheels, is that all the ports are on the back, right? And you also get a pretty decent amount of ventilation too. Um, with my G29, all the ports, your shifter port, your pedal port, your things like that, your USB, um, all of that stuff is on the bottom. So on like a racing cockpit, for example, that stuff's getting pinched. Obviously, you don't want to have pinched wires. So that is the one downside. The one downside to it. Pretty in depth with this, and Fanatic makes all kinds of different attachments that you can get. Like, so there are two different shifter ports to have, as well as a handbrake port. Um, like I said, they get pretty pretty involved as far as what they do with their stuff. Now, one thing I will say, as I've continued unboxing some stuff, one thing I will say is that the setting everything up, getting everything going, the overall setup of everything, it does come with a setup guide, which is nice. Um, obviously isn't as smooth or as easy, I guess you could say. Not that it's difficult. Um, in comparison to, let's say, your Thrustmasters or your Logitechs, mostly because everything comes separate. So like this is actually the attachment to get your wheelbase attached to your desk or to a stand on a racing cockpit, anything along those lines. And what's nice about that wheelbase as well is that once again, you could be interchanged with different wheels, right? So we'll show you the wheel that we got here in a little bit, but um, the the wheel that I got is a little bit more expensive than like even the cheapest wheel, and that cheapest wheel still works with that base. So you have different options available to you if you don't necessarily want to go with the most expensive option out there, or even uh, a more expensive option, and still want to go with something a little bit cheaper. And then of course you could always, again, it could always be interchanged. So if down the road you want to get something new, you can always do that. That's what's nice about Fanatic, is that a lot of their parts are very interchangeable. Um, so you get to build the setup that you want, that you feel as though is going to best suit you. All right. So next up, we have the pedals. All right. Now the pedal package that I got is actually 3 pedals. However, it comes with the 2 pedal setup, and then the third pedal, which is going to be my clutch pedal, that is a little bit more of just like an extra piece kind of deal. Now, as you can see, there's no pedals, nothing. This is actually simply just the base for it. So once again, a little bit more setup involved with Fanatic in comparison to your Logitech, your Thrustmasters. You're a little bit cheaper setups, and I guess that's kind of the point. Like, I mean, you pay for what you get. I guess I don't know if that's the point I'm trying to make. I think the better point that I'm trying to make is that with the cheaper wheel, the idea is you're ready to go, done. Unbox it, plug it in, boom, done, set. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the best experience out of it. So these guys here, these are the pedals. They're just in packaging. Again, everything's packaged very well. Like, not a lot of movement. And of course, like pretty much every wheel, they're spring loaded. Oh, that feels good. Solid. It's not too much friction. I'm sure with my foot rather than my hand, it might work out a little bit better. Very sleek design. Um, Overall, like the build quality feels very nice. So this guy right here, this is the clutch pedal. This is it. So once again, comes completely separate from everything else. There's a lot of assembly involved in Fanatic's wheels. I've realized so far. Makes for a fun time. And of course, you don't have to necessarily get that clutch pedal. You can just do the 2 pedal setup, like we originally just saw. Unfortunately, none of the setups come fully together, so there's going to be assembly involved in any one of their setups that they have. Um, but even their next tier up from the clutch pedal, which is the inverted pedals, same thing there. That's your own assembly on. And last but not least, the best part, in my opinion, the steering wheel. What's really cool is that this wheel came with. There's a bunch of buttons on this wheel. This wheel came with a bunch of buttons for you to be able to kind of put over the other buttons. It's a pretty generic, like, as far as like setup that you see on the current wheel, or the current design. With it's an Xbox design for this wheel, so it's the your A, B, stuff like that. But you could always put stuff over it if you have it remapped and redesigned to be that stuff, a little bit more like an actual car. And once again, very very well packaged. What's really nice about the wheel is that it comes in its own little duffel bag, which is nice. All right, the moment of truth. Dun dun dun. Super. It's actually kind of heavy. Not gonna lie. Super nice. Super sleek. The handles are fabric, which feels really nice, honestly. But let's say a pretty heavy wheel. As you can see, there's all the buttons there on the front. Like I said, very typical like Xbox kind of design. You have dials here as well that you can interact with. Um, Really, really, really cool stuff. And once again, all that could obviously be remapped, for your own liking. And then here's the back. So this is the importance of packaging. As you can see, there's those pins there, right in here. So you have to be very, very careful of that. But, but yeah, like I said, it's packaged very, very well. Um, and this is how it snaps onto your podium. Literally, just snaps into place like a normal wheel would. Um, the paddles for shifting feel very nice. You know what I mean? Like less of a less of a clicky feel. In comparison to like my G29, feels heavier. So like I have more feedback when I'm shifting, in my opinion, than I would with again one of the cheaper wheel setups. And again, you don't have to necessarily go with an expensive wheel like this one. You could always go with something a little bit cheaper. They do have the ones that they use once again in like the F1 Esports League, which I believe is actually one of the cheapest options that they have. Um, this is just I think $100 more, and you get a lot more buttons, which I like. So now we have more stuff to be able to remap, control without having to use keyboard, mouse, anything like that, or even if you play on console because they are compatible with console. All right. So now that you've seen all of it, I guess it's time to set everything up. One of the things I didn't get to show, mostly because I didn't realize it was a part of the packaging, um, and I found it as I was doing the setup. They come with these little sticky, like almost like grip tape. It's almost pretty much what it is. It's essentially grip tape that you can put on the pedals. So if you don't like that little bit more generic feel and you want something a little bit more realistic, simply just peel this bad boy off, stick it right on, and it'll apply to any one of the pedals on there. If you want to be weird and only do it on one, by all means, you can definitely do it. But something I thought that was really cool. All right, so first things first, I didn't do the whole have you guys watch me put everything together on some workbench or some table. One, because I don't have a table. Two, I don't have a workbench. Three, I'm not good at putting stuff together. Fanatic has all kinds of different videos available on YouTube that actually are very helpful, well beyond anything that I could do. As you can probably tell by the time, kind of took me a little while. I messed up. So here's some helpful tips as far as what to do, what not to do. If you're going with the clutch pedal setup, make sure you set that up first. Dive into that first. I screwed that up. I went and I did the regular pedals first, and then I saw the clutch pedal. I was like, this doesn't feel like a clutch pedal. And sure enough, it ends up actually becoming your brake pedal. And then the initial brake pedal becomes the clutch pedal. So that's the way that works. Unfortunately, I did not know that. All right, so that's a very, very helpful tip there for you. Second, if you have a cockpit or even just on your desk, it's gonna seem like the wheelbase, because it's so large, it's gonna seem like it may not fit. But don't worry, I promise it's gonna fit on there. You'll be good to go. No issues there. Um, and last but not least, be very, very careful with the wheel. The wheel is placed in by pins. There are firing pins essentially that are in there. So be very, very gentle when using that. It's obviously very easy to bend a pin, and when you bend a pin, it's not very easy to get it to go back into place, and obviously that's a very expensive replacement with these wheels. So be very, very gentle and be very, very careful when you go to do that. Also, fun little fact: they give you a shit ton of stickers. So like, I have so many stickers now from Fanatic that are just kind of lying around, and I don't know what to do with them. So that's pretty cool. But hey, we're gonna dive into it. I have it calibrated. I have it ready to go. We're gonna dive in. We're gonna play some F1 2020 just to kind of test it, see how it feels before we wrap things up. All right. Once again, need to stress the importance of understanding instructions and actually taking the time to read them. I sat here after I literally was like, okay, time to start playing. Let's go try something. I sat here for like an hour and a half. Couldn't figure out how to get the actual wheel calibrated. Was very upset about that. Now I got to figure it out. All I had to do was pay attention to the actual instructions. Feel super dumb. But I had to go stream. So I was doing the stream and then immediately was like, all right, time to go end the stream and immediately try to figure this out. And now I figured it out and I feel really dumb. So now it's time to actually play. One thing I want to mention that kind of sucks about this wheel. Two things. The base is super large. So I have to have my chair a little further back than I would like. I'll get used to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that big of a deal. The other thing I don't like is I'm sure you can hear it, the lever that holds this in place. In a cockpit, it's definitely a big deal. I would say probably in like a normal computer desk, probably not as much of a problem just because of the way you're sitting, but it gets in the way. So like every time I go to get up, I'm bumping my knee off it, which hurts. We're ready to go. Let's give it a feel. I'm sure I'm still gonna have to adjust some stuff. I'm sure some stuff is still just not gonna feel right. But let's see. Whoa! Okay. I might need to adjust like the brake sensitivity. Brakes are a little stiff. I'm also totally not used to the set yet. And I really hope you can adjust LED brightness. Because LEDs are pretty bright. But man, does this feel good. This is the difference between a direct drive wheel and a belt drive. It just has so much of a more realistic and natural feel. And all in all, you feel like you can control the car and have such a better feeling of the car as a whole. But it's really cool because like it shows you speed on here. Like it has its own little OLED screen that shows you speed. You have rev limiter lights on the wheel and on the base as well. The ones on the base are very bright though. Like almost too bright. And for a game like F1, it's where you're doing a lot of shifting. It's going through those revs pretty quickly. So it's like a flashbang in your eyes. Like just all the time. Alright, so I tried to figure out how to disable the lights on the wheelbase. The only way to do it is actually through FANATEC's software called FANALab. However, every time I go to install it, it says I need a more recent version of the drivers in their firmware. However, I already have the latest. So I don't know. So until I get that figured out, I'll have to do something. Maybe I'll just like take some electrical tape and just tape over the lights on there. I don't mind them on the wheel because on the wheel they're not super bright. It's just the wheelbase itself that they're really, really bright. Alright, let's they are actually a little bright on the wheel now that I think about it. But now that I actually look at it. But the wheel is so close that it's not that bad. Just kind of deal with it. Let's see if we can post a legitimate lap. Maybe even a fast lap.
Like, I feel like I can push the car so much more because I have such a better feel for the car now. Like, I can truly feel when the back end's kicking out on me. All in the wheel rather than through, force feedback, which is nice. Like, I feel the balance in the car. All through a wheel. Like, it's amazing. Absolutely mind-boggling to me. Posted a better lap, though. Let's see if we can do one more. There we go. See, with my Logitech wheel, I wouldn't have been able to stick it through that chicane like I just did. Part of it's the car, too. Mercedes is pretty good. Insane. Insane, man. And each and every lap, I'm getting faster. Incredible. Incredible.
All right. So here's my final thoughts. Definitely, absolutely need FANALAB. It's their software for it, for all their products that they have. Without that, my God, it is so tough to work with because the brightness of the lights from the wheel itself and then the wheelbase as well makes it so tough to try to focus in on the track, especially if you're seeing 3 different rev limiters between in-game, the wheelbase, and the wheel itself. Super bright, like it's actually blinding. So that's priority number 1, so to speak. All right. Number 2, I honestly can't get over how responsive it feels. Like it's just it's actually mind boggling to me. It took a game like F1 2020, which is a great game. Don't get me wrong. Like I love playing it, but it took a game like that, which doesn't really have the most realistic feel to it, and made it feel super real. Like after this video, I'm totally gonna sit there and just go play iRacing because of how real that game feels, and just see how well I can actually do in that game because of how real that feels. Like it was mind boggling to me. Like when the car slipped, I felt it in the wheel. To where with a force feedback wheel, if the car's slipping, I all that really happens is that I was just losing the force feedback at that point almost. Um, like absolutely insane. And I didn't adjust any settings on the wheel itself. The only settings I adjusted were settings in game just to get that 1-to-1 ratio, and that was it. That was it. Uh, I would suggest that if you're used to using like a Thrustmaster or Logitech wheel, I would definitely suggest upping your brake sensitivity in general, just for the simple fact that it is it's responsive, but you need to apply a little bit more pressure. So it took some time for me to get used to that, but I didn't adjust the sensitivity. I simply got used to it, and we ended up posting some decent laps, I would say. Um, but it's just absolutely mind-boggling to me just how responsive it all feels. So final thoughts, I guess. Pay attention to the instructions. Super, super well. And the instructions could be a little bit better, but overall they actually aren't too bad. If you get confused at all, if you have any questions, there's forums online as well as FANATEC has their own YouTube videos available that you could absolutely go check out. I would also recommend um, taking it easy in the early going. Once you're kind of getting your groove, take a step back, get used to it, because it's going to be a huge adjustment for you. There's absolutely No question of that whatsoever. And finally, enjoy it. Have fun with it. For the $1,000, is it worth it? 100%, 110%, 120%, a million percent. It's insane how well that felt. Like now, all I want to do is play nothing but racing games. I don't want to play anything else right now. That's all I want to go play. Like, it's insane. It's actually insane. I still can't get enough of it. I still can't get enough. It's incredible. Shout out FANATEC. You guys make some awesome stuff. Wow. Just simply wow. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, be sure to hit that like button as well as leave any feedback in the comments down below. And if you want to see more videos like this one, hit that subscribe button. That way you can stay notified anytime we post a new video. And of course, you could always check out my live streams on Twitch Monday through Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern start time. Sure do hope to see you there.